So if you clicked on this podcast based on the title, you're in the right spot, because the name of this particular podcast is Even If You're Slow, Do the Work. And that really comes from a place of you saying, man, Jake, I feel like when I start a project, I'm slow at it. I get frustrated with it. I just want to give up on it. And I've been in that place too. And so we're really going to talk about that and do a deep dive into some of the reasons why I think we get in this mindset of where we're getting stuck on a project or something that we're trying to do or bake or build. And then how do we overcome it? So welcome to The Crafted Life. My name's Jake, where we are built on purpose and shaped by faith. I have several stories when it comes to feeling like I was really slow on a project, where it's taken me so much longer than I ever thought it would, from taking a half hour to replace a light fixture to it turning into a 2-day project, from doing maintenance on a vehicle, which was kind of a big maintenance item that I needed to do on our van, turning into an engine replacement that I was my fault actually, that I screwed up with because I wasn't paying attention. And then how do you even deal with that? How do you deal with the frustration and all of that that's going on? So we're going to kind of revisit that story a little bit later in the video about kind of how that all turned out. It turned out fine, but there definitely is something to be learned from that. I do think it is a mindset that we get into under false beliefs or false reality of, I think, 3 things that I kind of came up with. One was everything has to be done fast. 2, my pride gets in the way when I run into a problem, and I don't even want to reach out to someone because I'm pretty embarrassed that 1, I don't know, or 2, I screwed up, or 3, I'm just stuck and I'm feeling vulnerable that I would have to ask someone to get me unstuck. And 3, I think sometimes is running into being disappointed with myself that I don't have this figured out yet when I should have had this done a day ago or a week ago or whatever it might be. This channel, we kind of put everything under 4 pillars, I'd say. Those 4 pillars are reality, community, durability, and legacy. I know I didn't say them in my normal order, but those are the 4. And I think today we're going to talk about reality as well as community, and a little bit of legacy too. I think it's important that our kids see how we react when we run into hard things and what do we even do with them. So let's go back. Let's go back to our 3 things here as far as kind of everything has to happen fast. We'll start with that one. We do live in a time, obviously, where whether it's on TikTok or Instagram or sometimes even here on YouTube, like everything is done within 30 seconds or a 30-minute video, and it's all done, it's all finished, it all turned out great. And so I think when you see that a lot, that becomes the expectation that at least I put on myself, that, well, if they can do it, why can't I do it that fast? And I think that is kind of a reality check for me, that sometimes yes, I should know better. I've been working on cars since I was 21. I did it professionally for about 5 years at a dealership. I do all my own maintenance on my vehicles. I've taught automotive at the high school level, and I continue to do that today. And sometimes it's like, why did this take me forever to get done? Because it shouldn't. It really shouldn't. It should go faster than I think it does. But I don't take the time sometimes to even make sure that I am following the steps I know I should do. If you're starting off new in any project, whether it's automotive or home project or whatever, I think that where we run into a problem too is, well, it looked easy there and it should be easy for me. And I think having a realistic mindset of, if it's the first time I'm doing something, I really just need to come in with an attitude of, I'm here to learn. I know I'm going to run into roadblocks. I know I'm going to run into problems, and so what am I going to do when that happens? And just having a game plan, because I think when you don't have a game plan, I think that's what even makes it more frustrating. I think the other piece of feeling stuck or incompetent, or feeling like, hey, I don't know if I should reach out to somebody to ask for help, just as a pride issue, I think I run into that a lot, where I don't even want to ask somebody for help because I'm just too embarrassed to even say, hey, this is what happened. This is where I'm stuck. This is what's going on. And I'm not even quite sure what to do. I think that does take pride. I think it does take humility and a sense of kind of knocking myself down a few rungs to ask another friend for help and see where they can help me. I think that also on the flip side of that is making sure that I'm doing my part. When I have a brother who's having a hard time, they're stuck, they need some help, that I'm not there to give them a hard time. I'm there to say, hey, let's go figure this out together. I think that's crucial as men, that we're there as a community to help one another and to come around one another whenever necessary. Even if you know it's embarrassing for the other guy, because you know if you're in that situation, you would be embarrassed too. I think the biggest one for me, especially, is just getting into a place where I'm super frustrated, where I just run into roadblock after roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, and not having a perspective and keeping things in perspective like I should. And at some point, you feel like, hey, man, I just want to give up. I just want to call somebody. I would just want to leave it. And I don't care about this anymore. I never want to do this again. And I know in the moment, that's how it can feel. And I've been there more times than I can count for sure. But on the other end of that, the amount of lessons that I've learned is incredible. Um, I need to understand and I need to keep it in perspective, which is hard. I need to keep in perspective a lot of things. One, some projects, this is the first time I'm ever doing this project. So keeping that in perspective, I need to learn about this. I've never done this at all. So learning while I'm in the middle of it. Um, Two, I know I'm going to run into problems. In understanding that when I do run into the problems, what am I going to do with that? Who maybe can I call? Who can I reach out to? Um, and I think three, I think prayer, when I get stuck, like, and I know God's not like just a magic genie, you rip the lamp and he just answers everything. But I really have learned lately that God does care about the things where we get stuck and um, we're having a hard time, and to reach out to him and say, God, what do you want me to know? What do you want me to do in this situation? Because I don't know what to do. And just even just sitting and listening has been something that's been amazing for me, even just this year, that I've kind of really embraced. So I think there are a couple things just to keep in perspective as you kind of jump into a project, or maybe you've never been a person who you never consider yourself handy, like as they say. I don't even know what that means. But even if you've never done something, start with something small. Start with learning how to replace a receptacle or an outlet. Start with how do I change the oil in my vehicle? Because I think after project's done, even in the midst of the trials and the tribulations and all the roadblocks, the taking care of what you're in charge of, what you've been charged with, what you were responsible for, is an amazing thing. I think that showing your kids, how do you react when you run into a difficult situation? What do you do when you run into trouble? In having that legacy of how do I respond when I run into a difficult thing, a difficult problem? Do I give up? Do I just get frustrated? Do I throw in the towel? Or how do I approach this problem solving? And how do I develop those problem solving skills? Because I do think this is maybe not even just, hey, are you handy? Are you passing kind of these traditions down and how to use tools down? But also, how do you transmit, how do I deal with problems? How do I deal with frustrations? How do I deal with difficult situations to your kids? I think that's an important lesson for sure. A couple more items as I've become a homeowner, or whether even it's a vehicle and I've bought a used vehicle, finding things that were not even done right in the first place. For example, we remodeled our downstairs area and all the sheetrock came off, and the amount of wires that I found in the wall that were just wire netted together and wrapped with electrical tape and stuck back in the wall was amazing. And it was, do I leave it or do I correct it and make it right? And so taking that ownership I think sometimes when you run into problems that you didn't even create, you didn't wire your house, you didn't put in the plumbing, you didn't do any of it. You didn't make that repair in your car or have owned that car before, and now you got to correct someone else's mistake. I think it's important to make sure that you're taking ownership of that job, making sure it's done right and done well, rather than whatever someone did before you who really didn't even care. I think that that shows a lot of pride and care, and that you're being responsible with what you've been given. One big thing also is just community. I think the ability on one side, again, just to put your pride aside and say, hey, man, I need some help. I'm getting stuck here. I don't understand this. And even on the other side, whether you're a professional or maybe you know a little bit about whatever it is, and someone calls you up, says, man, I need some help. I don't understand it. Even if you don't know much about it, to come along another guy, another brother, and say, you know what? I'm not really sure, but let's figure this out together. And to do that shoulder to shoulder, I think there's something amazing about that that really connects men together. I think it creates bonds that are different than anything else that I've ever experienced. Doing things together with men that are concerned about you, that want to see the best for you, even if they don't have a ton of knowledge, that's a big deal in my life, and I think it's a big deal in other men's life. Lastly, again, just want to touch on this, and let's come back to the Sienna. What happened was um, a washer dropped down the valve on the intake. I got in the car and started the car, and it was clanking. Oh my gosh. And I just put my head on the steering wheel, said, oh no. Like, I couldn't believe I did this. And um, the next question is, well, what do I do? Right? Did I ruin the engine? Is this thing toast? And we'll talk about the engine in a minute, but I really do believe it was divine inspiration, because I don't know how I even came up with this idea. I knew what cylinder it was. I removed the spark plug from that cylinder, and I got a magnet on a wire, and I swept around on the inside of that cylinder with that magnet, and I was able to pull out all 4 pieces of that washer that had dropped down in that cylinder, and I couldn't believe I got it out. The engine did run after that. It actually did okay. There was a tick and knock, so I don't know if I had bent the valve a little bit or what had happened. And I did end up replacing that engine with a used engine, and I still have that van today. It's still running because it's a Toyota, and we'll talk about Toyotas later. But I do believe taking the time to stop, to pray, to kind of listen for answers. Otherwise, I didn't know how I was going to get that piece of metal out of there. But it did work out. And it usually does. It usually does. Man, take the time. If you haven't, take the time to stop and say, God, what do you want me to do about this? What do you want me to know about this? And see what he says. Just sit there and see what he says. Sometimes he'll be quiet, or sometimes he won't give you a direct answer. But sometimes, I should say, but most of the time, I find that he does, because I believe that he is concerned about you, and he is concerned about what your frustrations and what you're going through. I also want to encourage us as men. I know there are things that are frustrating for us as guys, or maybe things that we run into when it comes to projects and that kind of thing. If you want to put those below on this video, where you've run into problems, or you run into situations where you've just kind of just pulling your hair out, you don't understand what to do, you're at the end of your rope, put those down below. I think this is a perfect place to answer those as a community, to come around each other and build into each other and encourage one another, because that's what this channel is about, is to be an encouragement to men in Christ. So this is Jake saying we'll see you next time. Take care.